Have you ever felt trapped in recurring patterns? The same relationship dynamics playing out with different people. Career opportunities that rise and fall in familiar ways. Or perhaps you've questioned why certain events unfold in your life, why some efforts bear fruit, while others seem to dissolve into disappointment. I remember watching a friend struggle with the same workplace conflicts across 3 different jobs. "It's just my karma," she'd sigh, resigned to what felt like an inescapable pattern. But what if these patterns aren't our destiny, but rather conversations we can actively participate in? In the next few minutes, you'll discover how to transform from feeling defined by these patterns to actively shaping them, moving from passenger to co-creator of your unfolding path. This isn't about magical manifestation or accepting rigid fate, but about accessing genuine agency that already exists within you. We humans are pattern-seeking beings, naturally drawn to understanding the chain of cause and effect that shapes our experiences. And across cultures and throughout history, we've developed frameworks to make sense of this mysterious unfolding. It's just karma, some might say, suggesting an inescapable cosmic accounting system where past actions dictate present circumstances. You attracted this, others might claim, implying that your thoughts alone summoned your reality. It's just bad luck, still others shrug, relegating life's happenings to random chance. Yet for the genuine seeker, these explanations often feel incomplete, even unsatisfying. They either strip us of agency, burden us with impossible levels of responsibility, or leave us adrift in meaningless chaos. What if there's a more nuanced understanding? One that honors both the patterns that shape us and our power to participate consciously in their unfolding. This understanding could transform how you navigate every challenge and opportunity in your life. Today, we explore Karma Reimagined, moving beyond the simplistic notions of cosmic punishment or reward toward a dynamic understanding of how you can consciously participate in creating your path, even amidst existing patterns. The concept of karma originates in ancient Indian traditions, with the Sanskrit word literally meaning action or deed. At its simplest, it refers to the principle that actions have consequences, that what we do matters and shapes what follows. But karma has often been misunderstood in popular culture as a rigid cosmic scorekeeping system. Bad deed here, punishment there. Good action now, reward later. This deterministic view suggests we're merely playing out a predetermined script written by our past actions, a notion that can feel disempowering or even fatalistic. Here's the insight that will transform your understanding. In Buddhist philosophy particularly, there's a crucial element that changes everything about karma: satana, or intention. The Buddha himself said, "It is intention that I call karma. Having formed the intention, one performs actions by body, speech, and mind." This shift is your first key to accessing genuine agency within patterns that might otherwise feel fixed. Consider this visual. 2 people perform identical actions. One accidentally bumps into someone on a crowded train. The other intentionally pushes someone in anger. From the outside, the physical deed appears similar, but the karmic implications differ dramatically because the intention behind each action is entirely different. Even more profoundly, this emphasis on intention shifts the focus of karma from being solely about past deeds determining our fate to highlighting the power we hold in each present moment. Every time we set an intention, every time we bring conscious awareness to our actions, we're actively participating in the unfolding karmic field. Think about a recent action you took. What was the intention behind it? How might that intention shape its impact differently than the action alone? This doesn't negate the influence of past actions and patterns. Rather, it suggests that those patterns meet our present consciousness in a dynamic interplay, like a river with an established course that we can still navigate intentionally, gradually reshaping its flow. Reimagining karma this way transforms it from a sentence to be served into a conversation we're actively engaged in. This understanding isn't unique to Buddhism. Similar concepts appear in many wisdom traditions, from the Stoic emphasis on intention in Greek philosophy to indigenous perspectives on how our thoughts shape our interactions with the world. These karmic imprints have fascinating parallels in modern psychology and neuroscience. The ancient wisdom of karma connects directly to what researchers now understand about how our brains create patterns, and most importantly, how we can reshape them. Consider the habit loop, a concept popularized by researchers studying behavior change. It consists of 4 elements that flow like a circular current in our river of experience: a cue, a craving, a response, and a reward. Let's use an example many of us might recognize. You feel stressed after a challenging day. This triggers a craving for relief or distraction. You respond by reaching for your phone and scrolling through social media. The brief dopamine hit of novelty and distraction serves as a reward, reinforcing the loop. Can you identify one recurring habit loop in your own life right now? What's the cue, craving, response, and reward? Just bringing awareness to this pattern is your first step toward conscious agency. What's emerging here is powerful. Your patterns aren't your prison. Neuroplasticity, your brain's lifelong ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections, means that the very neural pathways that create automatic responses can be rewired through conscious attention and practice. Even deeply ingrained patterns that may feel like fixed karma can gradually shift through consistent practice, though significant change typically unfolds over weeks or months rather than days. This is your biological basis for co-creating your path rather than being defined by existing patterns. Another aspect of psychology that parallels these spiritual concepts is what we might call the principle of attraction, a more grounded understanding of how our mindset influences our experience. Research in positive psychology suggests that our mental focus shapes what we notice and how we interact with the world. Our brain's filtering system prioritizes information that aligns with our existing beliefs, goals, and expectations, directing our attention toward opportunities and solutions connected to our focus. When we maintain a positive, growth-oriented mindset and align our thoughts, feelings, and actions with our goals, we become more likely to notice relevant opportunities, persist through challenges, and take effective action, all of which tends to produce more positive outcomes. How have you noticed your mindset influencing what you perceive and the actions you take? When has shifting your focus changed your experience of a situation? I recognize you might be skeptical about concepts that sound like manifestation teachings. This evidence-based understanding doesn't promise magic. It simply recognizes that what we focus on expands in our awareness, and that alignment between inner state and outer action tends to produce more cohesive results. It acknowledges that external factors beyond our control exist, and it emphasizes planning and process, not just wishful thinking. Now we can weave together these two powerful frameworks: the spiritual understanding of karma with its emphasis on intention, and the psychological understanding of habit loops and neuroplasticity. This ancient Buddhist understanding of intention mirrors what modern neuroscience tells us about how focused attention shapes our brain's response patterns. What emerges is a model of conscious co-creation. To understand this model, let's return to our river metaphor. The riverbed represents your karmic and habitual patterns created through past actions and experiences. The deepest channels have been carved over time by the water itself, along with other geological forces. This is why certain responses and experiences feel so automatic. The water naturally flows along the path of least resistance. You, as a conscious navigator of this river, may not control all the currents and conditions, but you have several powers. The power of awareness, recognizing the river's patterns; the power of intention, choosing your direction, the power of skillful action, learning to navigate even challenging currents. And most significantly, through consistent conscious choices, your actions gradually contribute to reshaping the riverbed itself. Not instantly, just as water reshapes land over time, but meaningfully. The Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist Viktor Frankl captured this beautifully in his observation that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response. In other words, while we may not control all the circumstances we encounter, we possess what we might call responsibility, the ability to respond consciously rather than react automatically. Where in your life do you feel like you're merely reacting to circumstances versus consciously responding? What might change if you approach that situation as a co-creator? This is where true agency lies in the karmic field. Not in controlling all outcomes, not in escaping the influence of past patterns, but in cultivating the awareness that allows us to participate consciously in each moment. This view harmonizes seemingly contradictory perspectives. It honors the reality that patterns from the past create momentum in our lives. Yet it equally affirms our capacity, through awareness and intentional action, to gradually shift those patterns and participate in creating our future. Understanding these concepts intellectually is just the beginning. The transformation comes through practical application, moving from theory to lived experience. Let's explore 3 powerful approaches that can help you cultivate this conscious agency starting today. These practices build upon each other naturally. First, developing awareness of your patterns, then setting conscious intentions, and finally, actively reshaping specific habit patterns. Together, they form a comprehensive toolkit for conscious co-creation. What makes these practices especially powerful is that they work with both subtle internal shifts and concrete behavioral changes, addressing both spiritual and psychological dimensions of transformation. This integrated approach is more effective than either mindset work or behavior change alone. The first step in conscious co-creation is developing awareness of your existing patterns. Without awareness, you remain caught in automatic reactions rather than conscious responses, simply carried along by the current without recognizing you have navigation options. Take a moment now if you're in a space where you can pause and reflect. Consider an area of your life where you notice recurring patterns, perhaps in relationships, work situations, or how you respond to stress. As you bring this pattern to mind, approach it with curiosity rather than judgment. Ask yourself, what typically triggers this pattern? Is there a specific situation, feeling, or thought that serves as the cue? What's the automatic response that follows? Notice the thoughts, emotions, and actions that unfold. What need or craving is this habitual response attempting to satisfy? Might it be seeking safety, validation, comfort, control, or connection? What reward does this pattern provide in the short term, even if it may not serve you in the long run? This kind of mindful inquiry helps you recognize the currents in your river. It creates that crucial space between stimulus and response that Frankl described, the space where freedom becomes possible. You might find it helpful to journal about these patterns, perhaps noting situations where they appear and how they unfold. Over time, you'll likely notice deeper themes emerging, perhaps core beliefs or emotional patterns that underlie various behaviors. In the language of karma, this practice helps us recognize our samskaras or karmic imprints as they manifest in daily life. These are like grooves in consciousness that predispose us towards certain perceptions and reactions. This awareness practice is not about judgment, but about bringing consciousness to what was previously unconscious. This awareness itself begins to transform the pattern, just as shining light changes how we navigate in darkness. With growing awareness of your patterns as a foundation, we now build upon this with the second practice. Working consciously with intention, satana, the element the Buddha highlighted as central to karma. This is like choosing your direction before navigating a section of the river. An intention differs from a goal. While goals focus on achieving specific outcomes, intentions center on how we want to be in the process, regardless of outcome. They orient our awareness and energy in a particular direction. Try this simple practice. Each morning, take a moment to set an intention for the day. This isn't about what you want to accomplish, but how you want to show up. For example, today, I intend to respond with patience when I feel rushed. Today, I intend to notice moments of beauty amidst the ordinary. Today, I intend to speak my truth with both courage and compassion. The power of this practice comes from its focus on qualities of being that lie within your control, rather than specific outcomes that may not. It aligns your awareness with values that matter to you, creating an inner compass for navigating whatever circumstances arise. You might find it helpful to connect this intention setting with another daily habit, such as making your morning tea or coffee, to help it become a natural part of your routine. Throughout the day, briefly check in with your intention. Notice when you're aligned with it and when you've drifted. When you drift, which is entirely human, simply return to your intention without self-judgment. This practice of returning itself strengthens your capacity for conscious choice. Now that you've built awareness of your patterns and learned to set conscious intentions, our third practice helps you actively reshape specific patterns through what we might call deliberate pattern redesign. This is where you begin actually reshaping parts of your riverbed rather than just navigating the existing flow. Remember the habit loop we discussed earlier: cue, craving, response, reward. The most effective way to change a habit is not through willpower alone, but by understanding this loop and making strategic adjustments to create new pathways for your agency to express itself. Here's a practical approach. Identify the cue and the reward. What triggers the habit? What satisfaction or relief does it provide? Keep the same cue and reward, but substitute a different response, one that provides a similar benefit but aligns better with your values and intentions. For example, if stress leads to mindless scrolling for the reward of distraction or stimulation, you might substitute a different response that provides a similar reward. Perhaps 5 deep breaths, a short walk, or engaging with a creative hobby for just 5 minutes. The key is starting small. Tiny, consistent changes are far more effective than dramatic but unsustainable ones. Research on implementation intentions, specific if-then plans for exactly when, where, and how you'll perform new behaviors, shows this approach significantly increases success rates compared to relying on motivation alone. For example, if I feel stressed after work, then I will take 3 deep breaths before deciding what to do next. What about setbacks? They're not only normal but expected. When working with deeply ingrained patterns, progress rarely follows a straight line. Each relapse into old patterns provides valuable information about your triggers and offers an opportunity to refine your approach. The key is responding to setbacks with curiosity rather than self-criticism, treating them as part of the learning process rather than as failures. For habits involving relationships, remember that while you cannot control others' responses, you can change how you show up in those dynamics. Often, shifting your habitual responses creates space for relationship patterns to evolve, though the time frame varies depending on the pattern's depth and the other person's own readiness for change. You might try focusing on just one habit loop at a time, working with it consciously for a few weeks before moving to another. Document your progress in a journal, noting what works and what challenges arise. Which of these practices resonates most strongly with you right now? What specific pattern would you like to engage with more consciously using these tools? These 3 practices, mindful awareness, setting intentions, and consciously restructuring habits, provide powerful tools for moving from feeling like a passive recipient of your karma to becoming an active co-creator of your path. As we work with these practices, it's essential to recognize that transforming deeply ingrained patterns takes time, patience, and self-compassion. The karmic field, like the habit mind, has momentum. Expecting instant transformation often leads to disappointment. Instead, we can approach this work as a journey of gradual awakening, moments of conscious choice accumulating over time, gradually shifting the riverbed of our patterns. This understanding builds resilience, the capacity to continue the journey even when progress seems slow or when we temporarily get swept away by old currents. A critical question arises: how do we discern which patterns to change versus which to accept? This discernment itself is part of your conscious co-creation. Consider whether a pattern aligns with your deepest values and contributes to your well-being and the well-being of others. Some patterns may need acceptance rather than change, particularly external circumstances beyond your control. The wisdom lies in focusing your energy on patterns where your conscious participation makes a meaningful difference. When we experience setbacks, as we inevitably will, these become opportunities to practice self-compassion rather than self-criticism. Each time we notice we've fallen into an automatic pattern, we can celebrate that awareness itself, for it creates the possibility of a different choice next time. There's a profound shift in perspective that emerges through this work. Rather than focusing primarily on controlling outcomes, what happens to us, we focus on the quality of our participation, how we show up in each moment. This isn't passive resignation, but active engagement with what lies within our sphere of influence. This integration of spiritual wisdom and psychological understanding offers something more nuanced and ultimately more empowering than either simplified karma or naive manifestation ideas. It acknowledges the reality of patterns and the complexity of life while affirming our capacity to participate consciously in our unfolding journey. As we conclude, let's return to where we began, the human experience of patterns unfolding in our lives and our deep desire to understand how we might consciously participate in their creation. Karma Reimagined isn't about a distant cosmic ledger recording debits and credits, nor is it about magically manifesting whatever we desire through thought alone. It's about recognizing the dynamic field of cause and effect that we navigate, and our profound capacity to engage with it consciously through the quality of our awareness and intention. In each moment of consciousness, in each intentional choice, you help shape the next link in the chain of causation. You aren't an all-powerful creator dictating every outcome, but neither are you a passive recipient of predetermined fate. You are a conscious participant in a co-creative process, navigating the river while gradually reshaping its course. This perspective offers genuine agency, not the illusory promise of controlling all circumstances, but the real power of bringing consciousness to how you meet those circumstances. It acknowledges the patterns you carry while affirming your capacity to work with them creatively. As you move forward from this exploration, I invite you to notice an area in your life where you feel caught in a pattern. Perhaps apply one of the practices we've discussed, bringing mindful awareness to the pattern, setting an intention related to how you want to engage with it, or identifying a specific habit loop you'd like to reshape. What shifts for you when you view yourself not as a victim of circumstance or karma, but as a conscious co-creator actively participating in life's unfolding? I'd love to hear your reflections in the comments below. The chain of causation continues its mysterious unfolding, but you hold the power to consciously shape the quality of each new link you add to it. You are not merely written by karma's hand, you are also one of its authors.